Day 2. Content objective. Students will be able to make connections to a grade level text. Students will be able to identify a character's feelings. Language objective. Students will be able to describe how a character is feeling using the following sentence frame. I think the character is feeling blank because on page blank I see ... Let's review. Remember, when identifying a character's feelings, look at how the character acts and looks, what the character says, and what the character thinks. If you look at the anchor chart on the right, it says that readers can use a lot of information included in the story to understand a character. Sometimes the author directly states a character's traits, and other times we need to infer what they are. So we look at their actions, their dialogue, their feelings, which we need to find out, and their thoughts. There will be times when the words don't come. Your own voice, once huge, now smaller, when the teacher asks, "What did you do last summer? Tell the class your story." "We went to France," Shayla says. "These shells came from a beach in Maine." A boy named Jonathan holds out a jar filled with tiny shells so fragile they look like they'll turn to dust in your own untraveled hands. "My whole family went to India, Spain, South Carolina." Each souvenir a small triumph of a journey. Their travels going on and on. How do you think the characters are feeling? How do you know? Look at the pictures to support your thinking. We can use the sentence frame, I think the characters are feeling blank because. So I've noticed that the girl who's sitting at the bottom of the page is holding her hands around her knees. She's staring at the other children, but she isn't smiling. She looks a bit lonely. The girl who's holding a scarf has a smile and her eyes are looking up to the sky. One of the other girls is holding an Eiffel Tower, which is her memory from her trip. And the boy down at the bottom of the page has a big smile on his face with his shells. This girl isn't holding anything, so I think that she feels left out. As you stand in front of that room, you can only remember how the heat waved as it lifted off the curb, and your days spent at home caring for your little sister who made you laugh out loud and hugged you hard at nap time. You can only remember the books that you kept on reading long after she had fallen asleep. And in that room, where no one else is quite like you, you look at your own empty hands and wonder, what good is this when other students were flying and sailing and going somewhere? How do you think that the characters are feeling? And how do you know? Look at the pictures to support your thinking. Let's try this one together. Look at the girl in the picture. Is she smiling? What is her facial expression like? Her hand is on her cheek, which shows that she probably isn't very happy, but more so that she might be wondering. Her eyes are glancing out into the distance. She's holding just a book. So use the sentence frame we had talked about before. I think the character is feeling blank because. Also, you can use the clues in the text that said, What good is this when other students were flying and sailing and going somewhere? Her days were spent at home. There'll be times when the lunch your mother packed for you is too strange or too unfamiliar for others to love as you do. How do you think the characters are feeling, and how do you know? Look at the pictures to support your thinking. Now it's your turn. Don't forget, you can use the sentence frame. I think the characters are feeling blank because. Even when your own friend Nadja will wrinkle her nose and say, "What's in there anyway?" And you'll wonder how she doesn't see the rice beneath the meat and kimchi. You'll wonder why she doesn't remember that rice is the most popular food in the world. Let's make connections. Have you ever felt this way before? Think back to a time when maybe you can connect with the character in the story. You can use the sentence frame, I have felt like this before when.